Hi, I'm Dr. Franklin Allaire from the University of Houston downtown, and in this video breakdown, we finish up our exploration of Domain A by taking a closer look at science teaching competencies 5 and 6. Before we get started, spoiler alert. Please make sure that you filled out the first two columns of your KWL 2.0 chart and have answered the discussion prompts. If you haven't, please pause this video and take a few minutes to write down and share what you already know and what you want to learn about science teaching competencies 5 and 6. Now that you've filled out the first two columns of your KWL chart and answered the discussion prompts, let's take a look at science teaching competencies 5 and 6. Competency 5 says, the teacher has theoretical and practical knowledge about teaching science and about how students learn science. Competency 6 says, the teacher knows the varied and appropriate assessments and assessment practices for monitoring science learning in laboratory, field, and classroom settings. As we've seen in the previous two modules, both of these competencies are broken down into sub-competencies. The sub-competencies for science teaching competency number 5 are: the beginning teacher understands how developmental characteristics, prior knowledge, and experience and students' attitudes influence science learning. Selects and adapts science curricula, content, instructional materials, collaborations, vocabulary, and activities to meet the levels of interest, knowledge, and understanding, as well as the abilities, experiences, and needs of all students, including English language learners. Understands how to use situations from students' daily lives to develop instructional materials that investigate how science can be used to make informed decisions. Understands common misconceptions in science and has effective ways to address those misconceptions. Understands developmentally appropriate design and implementation of hands-on learning experiences in science and selects effective, appropriate instructional practices, activities, technologies, and materials to promote students' scientific knowledge, skills, and inquiry processes. Understands questioning strategies designed to elicit higher-level thinking and how to use them to move students from concrete to more abstract understanding. Understands the importance of planning activities that are inclusive and that accommodate the needs of all students. Understands how to sequence learning activities in a way that enables students to build on their prior knowledge and that challenges them to expand their understanding of science. The sub-competencies for science teaching competency number 6 are: the beginning teacher understands the relationships between science curriculum, assessment, and instruction, and bases instruction on information gathered through assessment of students' strengths and needs. Understands the importance of monitoring and assessing students' understanding of science concepts and skills on an ongoing basis, including how to use formal and informal assessments of student performance and how to use products such as projects, lab journals, rubrics, portfolios, student profiles, and checklists to evaluate students' understanding and of participation in the inquiry process. Selects or designs and administers a variety of appropriate assessments, such as performance assessment, self-assessment, formal and informal assessment, formative and summative assessment, to monitor students' understanding and progress and to plan for instruction, and understands the importance of communicating evaluation criteria and assessment results to students. Now that we've learned about the competencies and sub-competencies covered in this module, it's time to dive a little bit deeper into some of the topics. In the Explore section, you'll be watching some videos that cover various topics contained within the competencies. In the Exploration section of this module, there are 3 sections comprising 9 videos total. In this module, you'll have the opportunity to explore factors that influence science learning, questioning strategies in science, and the link between curriculum assessment and science. As you make your way through the exploration section of this module, please keep in mind the following guiding questions as they pertain to competency number 5. How does a teacher's theoretical knowledge about teaching science influence their instructional strategies and classroom practices, and in what ways does this theoretical foundation contribute to effective science education? Can you provide examples of how a teacher's practical knowledge of how students learn science informs their decision-making, curriculum design, and the creation of engaging learning experiences for their students? How might the ongoing development and integration of both theoretical and practical knowledge about teaching science help educators adapt to evolving educational needs and better support their students in becoming proficient and engaged science learners? The guiding questions for competency number 6 are: how can teachers effectively choose and implement varied and appropriate assessment practices in laboratory, field, and classroom settings to gauge the depth and breadth of science learning among their students? In what ways do assessments tailored to the unique characteristics of laboratory, field, and classroom learning environments contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of students' science proficiency? And how can these assessments inform instructional decisions? And finally, what strategies and considerations should teachers keep in mind when selecting and designing assessments to align with the specific learning objectives and outcomes in science education, fostering a balanced and equitable approach to evaluating student progress? To help you fully engage in the videos, I strongly recommend downloading the guided note-taking documents. I also recommend having a notebook handy, so that way you can take notes about anything that's covered in any of the videos and to write down some questions that you may still have after watching the videos.